brand new and explosive reporting reveals a litany of controversies and scandals and deeply troubling incidents that call into serious question Donald Trump's nominee for defense secretary. We're talking, of course, about Pete Hegseth. The reporting brings into question his ability to lead any organization, much less the Department of Defense, one of the world's largest employers, a pillar of our national security, and the linchpin of our alliances the world over. The New Yorker is today reporting this, quote, a trail of documents corroborated by the accounts of former colleagues indicates that Hegseth was forced to step down by both of the two nonprofit advocacy groups that he ran, Veterans for Freedom and Concerned Veterans for America, in the face of serious allegations of financial mismanagement, sexual impropriety, and personal misconduct. Among those documents, a whistleblower report compiled by multiple employees of the conservative Koch brothers-funded Concerned Veterans for America in February of 2015 and sent to the group. It says that when Hegseth was the president of the CVA, he was, quote, repeatedly intoxicated while acting in his official capacity to the point of needing to be carried out of the organization's events. The detailed 7-page report states that at one point, Hegseth had to be restrained while drunk from joining the dancers on the stage of a Louisiana strip club where he had brought his team. The report also says that Hegseth, who was married at the time, and other members of his management team sexually pursued the organization's female staffers, whom they divided into two groups, the, quote, party girls and the, quote, not party girls. In addition, the report asserts that under Hegseth's leadership, the organization became a hostile workplace, one that ignored serious accusations of impropriety, including an allegation made by a female employee that another employee on Hegseth's staff had attempted to sexually assault her at the Louisiana strip club. An attorney for Pete Hegseth declined to comment when NBC News reached out this morning, but he told The New Yorker that the claims were, quote, outlandish and raised by a, quote, petty and jealous former associate. But sources tell The New Yorker that concerns about Hegseth's mismanagement led to him being ousted as head of the CVA. The New Yorker also obtained an email with the subject line, congratulations on removing Pete Hegseth. The New Yorker reports that it was, quote, sent to Hegseth's successor as president of the group, Jay Pack, on January 15, 2016. The email, sent under a pseudonym by one of the whistleblowers, included a copy of the report and went on to say this, quote, among the staff, the disgust for Pete was pretty high. Most veterans do not think he represents them or their high standard of excellence. The email also stated that Hegseth had a history of alcohol abuse and had treated the organization funds like they were a personal expense account for partying, drinking, and using CVA events as little more than opportunities to hook up with women on the road. We should note that NBC News has not seen the whistleblower report. NBC News has also reached out to the Trump transition team and has yet to hear back from them. The New Yorker adds that a separate letter from a staffer flags a troubling incident that should set off alarm bells in the United States Senate as it considers whether Pete Hegseth is the guy to lead an enormous and diverse workforce. The letter alleges that, quote, Hegseth and someone traveling with the group closed down the bar at the Sheraton Suites Hotel. The duo yelled, quote, kill all Muslims multiple times in what the staffer described as a, quote, drunk and violent manner. Hegseth's despicable behavior, he wrote, embarrassed the entire organization. The staffer's letter cited a second incident in which he wrote Hegseth passed out in the back of a party bus, then urinated in front of a hotel where CVA's team was staying. Donald Trump's nominee to lead the United States Department of Defense facing a mountain of new accounts and allegations of mismanagement and misconduct is where we start today. Turning our coverage, CEO of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, former Army Captain Allison Jaslow's back, plus former Democratic Senator, MSNBC political analyst Claire McCaskill is here, and MSNBC columnist and contributor Charlie Sykes joins us. Claire McCaskill, I start with you. Jane Mayer is the journalist with all this reporting. It is documents-based reporting. These documents exist. People that know Pete Hegseth seem to be interested in making sure that the United States Senate, which will consider his nomination, has all of the information before them as they consider if he's really the guy to lead the Pentagon.
Yeah, first you have to consider, Nicole, where this information is coming from. It's coming from people who worked with Pete Hegseth, and he worked in conservative Republican organizations that were centered around veterans. But some of them were just purely political organizations trying to help Republican candidates, conservative Republican candidates, get elected. And what these documents show is public drunkenness. They show sexual harassment and assault. And the third thing they show is gross mismanagement. And, let's not forget that third point. Running one of the largest organizations in the world, you have to know how to manage a large organization and people. And the details of his mismanagement, the financial mismanagement, the professional mismanagement are really acute. And the drunkenness is really interesting because Donald Trump reportedly has no patience for that. He reportedly, we know he is a teetotaler. He does not drink, encourages others not to drink. And the idea that he has this guy who has been publicly drunk so many times that it has been reported over and over again, my heart hurts for all the men and women in the Pentagon, all the leaders in our military that are shaking their head today going, how have we come to this?
Yeah, let me stay with you, Claire, on the issue. I mean, you break it down, I think, exactly right. Public drunkenness, being so out of control, urinating in public, being carried out of places. This is what Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal had to say about the alcohol issues. Quote, much as we might be sympathetic to people with continuing alcohol problems, they shouldn't be at the top of our national security structure. Quote, it's dangerous, Blumenthal went on. The Secretary of Defense is involved in every issue of national security. He's involved in the use of nuclear weapons. He's the one who approves sending troops into combat. He approves drone strikes that may involve civilian casualties. Literally life and death issues are in the hands of the Secretary of Defense. Entrusting these kinds of issues to someone who might be incapacitated for any reason is a risk we cannot take. Blumenthal noted that an earlier nominee for Secretary of Defense, Senator John Tower, a Republican from Texas, was voted down by his Senate colleagues in 1989 because of concerns about his drinking and womanizing. It was the first time that the cabinet pick of a newly elected president, in this case George H.W. Bush, was rejected by the Senate. John Tower went down for these same kinds of issues, Blumenthal said. I don't think it's a partisan issue. It will be a test, Claire, an apples-to-apples test as to whether or not the United States Senate in the year 2024 has the same standards, has the same spine for the person with this job as it did in 1989.
It'll be very interesting, particularly the women on the Armed Services Committee. We have now spent well over a decade struggling with issues of sexual assault in the military. We have women that serve on that panel that are military veterans. One wounded as a helicopter pilot, lost her legs, and Joni Ernst, who served honorably for many years and has recounted the sexual assault she suffered and harassment she suffered while in the military. And for women across the country who have worked in male-dominated organizations, we recognize this behavior. We've witnessed this behavior. We know this guy. We know who he is and how he behaves and what his priorities are. And I'm looking forward to Joni Ernst. She would be exactly the right person to stand up and say, this has nothing to do with his ideology or how much he supports Donald Trump or how much he believes the things that Donald Trump believes. This is about his fitness to serve in this important leadership capacity. And I'm just hoping that Joni Ernst has the courage to do it.